morning, everybody. Welcome back to Into the Veil. I'm your host, Rachel. It's a beautiful fall morning, and thank you for being here with me. I thought for part 3 of this short series that we're doing on Bigfoot behavior that we might cover some of their more spiritual aspects, to see if Anku might help us in going over how they handle the death of their people. He may break this down by type. Maybe their food sources and anything else that he brings to our attention. Anku, thank you. I actually feel like there might be input from some of the rest of the family because I feel more than just Anku around. They could just be gathering in and listening in. Excuse me. So Anku, we're looking for information on the more spiritual aspects of your people. He'd like to start with type 1, what we consider the evolved. He said that's more his arena. So Anku, can you talk to us about your food sources? He said for type 1, they're very dependent on trees. And it has to do with the sun's energy. He confirms information that he had brought forward, I believe, in a prior comment. But photosynthesis, the processing of the sun's light in the trees, is equally important. They can use just the sun's energy, but most especially, he compares it to a tree as being almost like a solar battery. So when it's overcast, or if the sun's light isn't broad, he uses the word broad, they will integrate their energy. Is that correct? They will integrate their energy with the trees in order that they might cloak. He said travel. Certain trees are more conducive than others to various needs or uses, skills. It's as if what he's showing me is some of the larger coniferous trees are often used for portal energy. The smaller trees are more conducive to structural. He shows me the structural shapes and builds that can frame their energy for cloaking. But anything, they can even use. He shows me something that looks like large bushes, or they could be smaller trees. But they can use anything that structurally using these types of energies, anything that has strength in photosynthesis. So I'm just watching my rods for a minute there. This left one will often point to where they are and where that wood knock, although I don't see anything where I just caught that knot, they're pointing that direction. Okay, we'll continue. Now he's going on to the next type, and he said he kind of gives me the sense of they can use the trees. He said if they haven't forgotten who they are, they often will still use trees, large stone areas, but it all feels like it's drawing energy, like it's utilizing the energy of the place that they're at. These will sometimes hunt, sometimes fish, and I still see the sun as if they still utilize the sun, although they may not utilize it quite as advantageously, he said, as the type 1. The third type, he's shaking his head, give me that sense of shaking his head in saying that they really don't have, it feels as if they've cut off their connection to source, their connection to their own gifts, their own abilities, and they feel much more carnal, much more dependent on true structure, caves, hideouts. He gives me the term hideouts. And so part of why they are more assertive or aggressive, he said, is because they are more exposed. They have more need for concern of being seen. They are very much the hunters. They're very much more dependent on physical food. Going back to group 1, he said they're not dependent on physical food, and inasmuch they have a more, part of the reason we would consider them evolved is because they are not dependent on caloric intake to nurture them. It's more because of the energetic intake, they're able to travel more dimensionally, globally. Anything else about food, Anku? The trees, he's bringing me back to the trees. And we'll see if we can find a picture of one here, but he's showing me some that we've found. I'm not seeing any close. When they're very young, mothers will start them, especially with these, the mothers will start them sleeping in the trees, and they don't really get away from them, but the adults in these, I'm not seeing them physically in the trees for sleep. He shows me more of a ground nest or a ground spot that feels safe. But the young utilize the trees, and part of this is not just for safety. Part of this is actually for the young to begin an early bond with the energy of trees, with understanding or gaining a sense of oneness with particular trees, and learning little by little how they can, how that bond allows them to be in the oneness with that energy when they utilize it, whether that's to travel or cloak or any of these things. It, at an early age, that bond is created, and then by the time they are adults, there's really no thought about it, no question about it, or how to utilize that. Is everybody settled down now? Okay. I swear I'm hearing one of the babies. I don't.
I keep hearing little ones yelling back in the back at the ones over there, just shaking everything up.
Really working to concentrate. Hopefully they'll settle down. Okay. Anything else about the sun? He just simply says he's confirming something else that he gave when I was thinking about this before, but I hadn't really asked him. It was more just in the feeling or knowing about it. And he's explaining that the sun is a large star. It is, we often forget as human beings, he's saying you forget that you too are dependent on star energy to survive. Another way, another connection, he said, another way that we are the same. We just use it differently. Anything else? Okay. So, Anku, let's talk about when your people die. What we call death. He's kind of humored with this word, because they don't. Okay, the more evolved, we're starting with group 1 again. They don't look at it as a death in the connotation, that's right, in the connotation of the word death. In fact, they're not very fond of that word. He said they prefer the word transition. He's bringing me to it's as if I can see one at that point. And I'm feeling Mark, actually. Maybe he's here to help too. These that are more evolved, he said they are aware. They know their time. They know when they're at that point. And he shows me the family will gather. The family will be with them for the transaction, the transfer, the transference of energy. Thank you. But it's just that. It's as if what he's showing me is that they're aware, and when that moment comes, I almost see them all gathering hands, and it's like they all work together to enable the loved one to, it's the visual is that they like literally kind of just disappear. He said, I know this seems strange, but they have, even unto death, they have the ability to control their vibrational energy. They have the ability to disappear. No differently than they do in our environment, no differently than they do in nature or wherever we witness them. And they just simply go on. They just simply walk through. From, if they're in this realm with their family, they simply just transition. It's as easy as that. To us, he said it might seem difficult, but it's really so simple. And in that, there is a little sense of loss, because perhaps they are moving on to another level, another task that may not involve being around their immediate family here. But often these are those that have transcended to a point where there just simply is no more need for them in this 3D experience. They can teach better. They can be a better representation from other dimension. Anything else, Anku? He said, you will not find the evolved buried. Okay. Thank you. He said, seldom will you find level 2 buried unless they are very close. It's almost like I see tears. Unless they have a more physical existence, then theirs might bury them. But it's going to be in, even then I get the sense of it being in an unseen world, an unseen, something we don't have access to. Could these be caves? Could these be in the ground? I'm getting the sense of what we would consider more of a Middle Earth environment, but it's not exactly Middle Earth. But on a realm level, it's just not visible to our experience. And they guard these places closely. So maybe some of their assertiveness and aggressiveness, again, is maybe it's when we are close to the entrances of these. My goodness. When we are close to the entrances of these places. Okay. Everything's wound up out here.
I think the crows know where some of those places are. They're kind of disturbed that you're
talking about it. So we'll be still. Although I don't feel they have any bodies out here. Oh, somebody's right behind me. Okay. I thought they might quiet down. I think your buddy's right behind me. So I've got Junior right behind me.
Maybe the crows were the Sasquatch early warning system, the plane's coming being visible.
Right? Okay, let's see if they quiet down. It would be very nice if they would quiet down.
One of them's got them all stirred up.
Well, no, it's not Junior. He's hanging back here.
I think that was Took over there banging around a minute ago. He may have circled around us.
Yeah, and Took has started showing himself more. I think he really doesn't see it as a threat, but he's also kind of coming to an age where he's wanting to be noticed. Okay. Alright, well, this rod's going to stay right where it's at. Alright. Thank you. Okay, we're going to try to keep going here. The third level, the third class of these. I feel are the ones that if we found them, they would be in... I feel that they live closer to rock boulders. Because I don't see them really using trees. They've become dependent on rocks. They've become dependent on having them available for defense. They've become dependent on our lack of ability to get to them in high places, because some of these, it's like I see small caves, small in and amongst these big boulders. If they do have trees available, they're not using them for energy. They're using them as a tool or a weapon. Anything else, Anku, on that? So he's taking me back to group 1, and as far as spiritual gifts go, these are the healers. These are the teachers. These are those that walk between, it's like I see a line between our world and the next. And these are those that walk, it has a sense of almost being a tightrope in its energy, or on the edge of the very curtain that exists between these worlds. That way they can be aware. For example, they can be aware of our activity. They can be aware of both worlds. They can be aware of what's going on energetically and where they're needed most. They're not subject to time-space in the way that we as people are. Whereby they can easily travel hawk. The point of that is to also explain that they use, there was a video we did called The Orb Path. He said when they travel, it's their very essence, it's their very life force that gives them that mobility. They don't need, he laughs, he likes the word ship, but they don't need physical ships or a vehicle or any of these things to go anywhere. They simply, he shows me, they think it, they feel it, they're there. Boom. That simple. He said ultimately when mankind gets back to their highest self, they will be the same, although it's a little time coming. He said there are a few of you, speaking about man, a few that have mastered this, but very few. The second type, they're much more 3D. But because they are not energetically bonded to people or projects or anything pertaining to energy work, they don't really have need to walk that line between worlds. If we were to happen to develop a relationship with any of these, they do have that ability. They just don't have need to utilize it as often as these that are enlightened. They too have the ability to heal. Very few choose to be teachers. So weird. The third type, he said that although yes, there are these that are ill, there are these that have been born with defects due to interbreeding. Some of it's environmental, yes. He said, but this is where these that are what you call evil, he gives me a, it almost feels in parentheses strong word, but it is what it is. He said someone tried to class these by themselves, but he's reminding me that if you have a cast iron pot or kettle, you have a cast iron Dutch oven, or you have a cast iron frying pan, they're all different, but if anything hits you with them, they're going to hurt. He said so that's why he puts all of these in the same class. It's because to avoid being judgmental, to avoid saying that one's better than another. He said they aren't. Their actions are all equally damaging, equally fearful, equally limited. With that said, these that are in this class 3, I see little or zero gift, little or zero ability, zero ability to tune in to the higher frequencies that give them the ability to travel, to teach, to heal, to mind speak. These would be those that would use the infrasound primarily. Anything else, Anku? Okay. Not sure what's going on with these unbelievable, I want to say ravens. They're massive. But I thank you for being here. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm sorry for the excess bird activity. But if you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. Try not to hit unsubscribe. YouTube's already helping everybody with that. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. You can always reach me for your own channeling session or energetic read. My email will be in the description box as well as the About section. Don't forget to visit Arkansas Bigfoot with my husband Ken and I, exploring the more physical aspects and some of the fun experiences that we have with the family there. Again, thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great day.